Hey, welcome to The Conversation. You're with Andy Mason, and this is authentic conversations around the messy intersection of faith, family, and business. And today I'm going to unpack for you why I do what I do. For you, the application is, why do you do what you do? When was the last time you sat down, paused for a moment, reflected on what is it that you're really accomplishing or doing? I'm going to read you a story, and then I'm going to unpack literally what I've written in my journal, and it's going to give you some real clarity and some help to unpack this for yourself about what's most important. Now, spoiler alert, we're going to break it down to lead magnets or lead metrics compared to lag metrics. Lead metrics compared to lag metrics. Sometimes all of these things that we say, I want that, I want that, I want that, you can't really measure it. They're the afterwards. But what you can focus is on what you are doing right now to achieve what it is that really motivates why you do what you do. But we're going to start with why. So for starters, I'm going to read you a little story from a book I read. It's called Prosperous Coach. Profound book, really helped me, by Rich Litvin and one other author. It's called The Prosperous Coach, and here it goes. An American executive arrived on a beach on a beautiful island. The executive strolled down the beach and noticed a fisherman rowing into the shore. His boat was chock full of fish, and the executive asked him what he was doing. The fisherman replied, "I've been fishing because I love it. And now I'm going to have a big barbecue on the beach with my friends. I'll play guitar and sing and hang out on the beach, and then in the evening I will dine with my wife under the stars." "That's crazy," said the executive. "You caught so many fish. I can invest in you and will sell the fish and make a ton of money." "Why would I want to do that?" said the fisherman. "Well, in a few months we could invest the profits and buy a bigger boat and make even more money," said the executive. "Why would I want to do that?" said the fisherman. "Well, in a few years we could invest the profits and open a factory on the beach and process our own fish and make even more money," said the executive. "Well, why would I want to do that?" said the fisherman. "Well, with the profits from what you could eventually make, you could retire early, and then you could go fishing just because you love it, and then you could have a barbecue on the beach with your friends, and you could play guitar under the stars and sing and hang out, and then in the evening dine with your wife under the stars." You get the point. Why is it that you really do what you do? Now, I don't know about you, but playing guitar on the beach with my wife, with my friends, having a barbecue, that'd be great. But after I've done that for a couple of nights, I'm like, okay, right, there's got to be more. So for me, why do I do what I do? Now, there's a lot of things that I could do. I could make a lot more money. I could build a big organization. Those things have never motivated me. Do I want to play rugby for the All Blacks in New Zealand? Well, I had some opportunities to go for or after that a lot more than I did, but it's just like there's something it's never that much of a drive for me. There's something more. And so what I've done is I've literally written down in my journal, and I'm going to tell you exactly what I've written so you can process this yourself and see how I work these things out and how I actually go back and reflect on it. Because in the Bible, Paul said, is like, I consider the things that I've accomplished dung, but for the knowledge of knowing him. I consider all things nothing, that I may attain him. I may lay hold of that for which Christ laid hold of me. I'm living for something that is of eternal consequence, not something that could burn and disappear tomorrow. Now, I've got a friend who works with the Special Forces, and he trains them in spiritual performance as well as human physical performance. He wants them to get onto the battlefield, do their job, and get back. But what he recognizes is that if their identity, if their why is to accomplish the mission, if their why is to shoot the bad guys, if that's their entire why and they lose an arm or a leg or they can't run or they can't join their team, and if that is their motivation, it spins into a whole heap of bad holes in the ground. Why? Because I can't do what I think it is that I'm most motivated to do. So we've got to go deeper. And what he does is he connects them with purpose and identity. So this is what I want to walk through with you. So here's what I wrote in my journal. I wrote at the top, why do I do what I do? And here's just some statements. I'm just going to read straight out to you. I was purchased with the blood of my Savior. I am no longer my own. I live with eternity and eternal reward in mind, so that I get to the end of my life and hear, well done, good and faithful servant. Enter into the joy of your master, so that I become a friend of God and walk in proximity with the Holy Spirit and experience the power of what Christ said: disciple nations, heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the lepers, all that is in Isaiah 61. Now, you see this phrase that's repeated, so that. You can ask yourself these questions. Write it down. Why do I do what I do? Ask yourself, so that, ... so that you keep going, so that until you get to bedrock, so that I accomplish that for which Christ died for me. For me, it's call the crowd, Isaiah 55:5, to disciple leaders, Titus 1:5, to identify and activate others likewise, 2 Timothy 2:2, so that my children, friends, and followers go further, faster, stronger, and longer, so that I can look those who invested in me in the eye and say, thank you. My life got to go further because of your sacrifice. Dad and Mum, Mike Connell, Roy Fraser, Jerry Jeremson, Bob Hamilton, Kevin Longman, Dave and Liz Mason, Bill, Chris, and Danny, Rick and Doug, William Wilberforce, William Penn, William Tennant, Francis Asbury, Smiths Wigglesworth. I could look those people in the eye and say, thank you for your sacrifice. My life has got to go further, faster, stronger, and longer because of you, because of what you invested in me. So you can do the same. Write it down. Why do I do what I do? So that, or ask yourself this, what's behind that? What's behind that? What's behind that? And keep asking yourself until you get something that moves you on the inside. And I guarantee you it's not so that I can make $1 million and retire. It's like, come on, people, there is so much more to life. Life is not about accomplishment. It's about meaningful living. So what is it that's going to produce meaning? So relaunching in 2023, we have favor. Now go. That's what we're hearing God say. No longer business as usual. So I'm writing these things down. Now I've reflected again on heaven and business and what we're building. 10 times greater wisdom and understanding. With supernatural wisdom, supernatural favor. The least in the kingdom is greater than this. That's the story in Matthew talking about John the Baptist. It's like since John the Baptist till now, the kingdom has been forcefully advancing and forceful people lay hold of it. So it's like something grips me on the inside. I can't let go. It's like Jeremiah, I think it's 30. Jeremiah says, God, you tricked me and I was tricked. Like I've stepped out. I'm doing what you've said. I'm going after it. I see the reward, but I didn't realize it would cost me this much. Nevertheless, your word is like a fire in my bones. I grow weary of holding it in. Indeed, I cannot. So Jesus said, you do greater things than me. So what I've been asking, what would I ask the Lord for? What would that look for? What could 10 times greater look like in my life? And I'm starting to get into this rhythm. Now, heads up for you. As you watch and listen to this, you'll see what I'm getting into is actually lag metrics. These are the outcomes. This is what I want to see at the end. I can't control a lot of these things, but let's just play with it, see what we go. So what could 10 times greater look like? Context, it's got to be in alignment with my vision, my assignment. What am I on the earth to do? And then what would heaven juice look like? What would it look like if Jesus was walking in my suit, in my jeans and collared shirt, in my workplace with my opportunities? And what could it look like? Why? Because he is inside me. The same resurrected power lives in me. So don't just ask the question, but say, what's stopping me from living that out? Now you can see I can get a little bit passionate about this. Why? Because this is what I was born for. So I start to dream, what could it look like? Could it look like, let's break it right down. What could it look like with Heaven and Business membership community where we're connecting, training, activating people to walk this life out? You know, what could that be that could end up like sitting on the beach having a barbecue or making more money? What's that outcome? Well, could that be 100 new subscribers a month, like 1,200 this year? We're at just under 300 now. I mean, that'd be fantastic. Think of what that could do in terms of people activated where they are in their city, but also the resources that are start to release so we can start to get this flywheel going and do a ton of other things like what we're doing in Africa or in Germany in October. And like, you know what we could do? You know what we could do? What could 10 times greater or better than all of the magicians and the astrologers look like? I'm thinking, is it really just numbers? Like, am I just comparing myself to myself? Or what could it look like, stand out different, that only Jesus could have done this? So I write this out: stand out in the industry to the point of jealousy, wisdom, favor, power, miracles of work, healing, signs and wonders, ideas, innovation, and insight. Wow, what could that look like? Maybe the podcast would go from 3,000 listeners a month to 30,000 a month. Oh man, now we're talking, but I can't control that. YouTube, our subscribers going from 1,000 subscribers to 1 million. What would that take? Our events sell out. Our membership goes from 260 to 1,000 to 10,000 to 100,000 to 1 million people walking, growing in identity, growing in assignment, growing in culture, growing in influence. Is that exciting? And then I take a step back and I'm like, all of this, all of it is vanity metrics. It's all things that I cannot control. So I come back to, I want to walk with God. I'm going to do all that I can in my ability to walk that out. But I know that it's only His Spirit filling me. Even Jesus Himself said, of myself, I can do nothing. So I'm going to grow in excellence. I'm going to grow in attitude. I'm going to grow in character. I'm going to grow in the things that I can. I'm going to position myself to be filled again and again and again with His Spirit, because that is what is the power to change and transform lives. Whether I'm selling pizzas or whether I'm selling Pontiac vans, or whether I'm selling messages or marketing or whatever it is, the Spirit inside of me is what transforms and gives life. So I break it right down. You know what? These are all lag metrics. They're all what happens as a result of doing a certain things, of the Spirit of God coming upon me, multiplying what I do. So what do I need to focus on in that agenda, in that focus, in that assignment? So here's what I wrote down. Focus on now. Systems and processes. Now, doesn't that sound sexy? That's like really focus on the system. Why? Because as I'm believing that the Spirit of God comes on me and multiplies what we do, so that my ability gets multiplied 1,000 times over, are we ready to handle it? If we've got 300 subscribers now, would 1,000 subscribers break my systems? Would I have the people in place? Could I have the systems in place? So focus on the systems and the processes to scale. Oh, what are those? Number one, curriculum. So heads up, we're developing it. We've literally got that in place. There's a set of notes. It's like it's working through. By the end of this year, we'll have a 12-month curriculum that will walk people through identity, growing in assignment, growing in culture, and growing in influence, all in the context of walking with mentors. It's going to be really good. I need to scale a board of advisors. I need accountability. I need people. So I've spoken to a couple of people and they've said yes. Shay, Paul, thank you. Like, they can speak in and they're unashamed. They actually help guide us as we grow, so that the growth doesn't distract me from my real why, friendship with God. Number three, duplicatable events. You know, if you looked at my lounge right now, it's full of boxes. It's full of signs. It's full, like over here, the bench is got full of paper that we've printed out ready, because we've got a conference this week in Atlanta. 150 people pop up in Bethel, Atlanta, to do a Heaven and Business 3-day conference. That's a lot involved. But as we build the systems and the processes to scale, do we have it so we can go boom? Let's go to Germany. Let's go to Stuttgart, Germany. Let's do the same. Let's go to Harare, Zimbabwe, and do the same. Let's go to Cape Town. South Africa, let's do the same. Let's go to Atlanta, now let's go to New York, now let's go to Chicago, now let's go to Adelaide, Australia, let's do the same. Are we ready to scale, or am I unprepared? You know, there's a story in the Bible about 10 foolish virgins and 10 wise virgins. The difference? The wise virgin were prepared. They had oil in their lamps so that when the master was delayed, they were still ready. They were still burning. What's the point? Am I ready to scale? Am I ready for the master to come? That when he lights this baby up, let's go, we're ready for that. So number one, systems and processes. Number two, train the trainer. Who am I training? Who am I pouring into so that they go further, faster, stronger, and longer? Who am I having the conversations with that I can look them in the eye and say, hey, buddy, how's your connection with your wife? What's it really like? Hey, buddy, has anybody told you that there's something going on inside of you that looks like it's dead emotionally? I know, because I've walked through that myself, but what are you going to do about it? It's having those conversations. It's having that life on life growth and then investing in those people as they grow. So what can you do? Number one, why do you do what you do? What's behind that? Tell me more. What's behind that? Go deeper so that ... Secondly, what are the genuine metrics of what could it look like fully expressed in your assignment with the life of Jesus on the inside? And what do you need to focus on right now? What's the lead metrics, the things that you need to focus on now that will position you to realize those ultimate outcomes or be ready for it when the life, the favor, the presence, the power of God flows? Hey, let me pray for you. And if you haven't done so already, jump onto heavenandbusiness.com/free-trial. Join us online. Be a part of us as we grow. And let's grow together in identity, in assignment, in culture, and in influence. So I bless you. I bless you with the fullness of the Holy Spirit flooding you, filling you, overwhelming you, and literally the power of God coming in and causing all things on inside of you to come alive. I bless you, and we'll see you again next week.